Neolithic era. What was it? It was basically the time period of which the first people on Earth did the first things on Earth. This included of a massive human migration out of Africa into places of Eurasia, Australia, and the Americas. While these people traveled in southern parts, they adapted new technology and cultures due to new climates and regions that they encountered. With these travels were the invention of new tools and ways to incorporate fire into everyday life, simply improving everyday life and ways of productivity. More specifically, the people that were consisted of these small groups, around 20 to 50 people, were politically sound with the creation of chiefdoms and basing it off of kindship, as the first people were very blood related. Socially, they had no patriarchy or advances of women to male. They were basically gender equality throughout. And economically, they traded with surrounding people with new ideas, goods, and even people they traded.
Shamans. Shamans in the Paleolithic era were part-time priests who were believed to have a special connection with the dead, and they would perform trance dances with psychoactive drugs to connect with the dead and to feel the natural order of the world. Paleolithic settling down. This was one of the turning points in history, because this was when the Paleolithic hunter-gatherer societies finally settled into real communities, and they were able to hunt and gather for their food for their communities, and it also noted the start of agricultural communities and societies. The original affluent society. The original affluent society was the first society of Paleolithic hunter-gatherer societies where the scarcity of food was not their predominant concern. And also these societies, most people had achieved an economic well-being, and these societies changed how people both hunted, gathered, and ate their food.
Around 10,000 years ago, humankind transitioned from non-sedentary lifestyles to sedentary lifestyles. Along with this came agriculture, as seen by our farming land here. This may have been caused by climate change, which brought people all around the world, like the Indus River Valley and the Mediterranean. Once agricultural communities started settling down and establishing themselves, they needed irrigation in order to water their crops. A perfect example of this is in the early Egyptian civilization, when they used the Nile River for irrigation. Pastoralism appeared not long after agricultural communities began settling down. Pastoralism is when groups of humans follow herded animals. Then came domesticated plants and animals. You can tell that this is a domesticated plant because of the way that it is. We also came around with dogs, who appeared much later in society.
So how did the Neolithic Revolution really change human society? The answer lies in agriculture and pastoralism. These concepts resulted in a growth in population, which then resulted in kind of a more grouping, larger groups of people, which led to job specialization. Through this specialization, a social hierarchy was made, as different classes of people, craftsmen, artisans, eventually a warrior class were formed. This social hierarchy also is what made the patriarchy a phenomenon throughout the world during this time. Technology was also evident in a growing economy that instead of based around producing for your own family's needs, you could produce for a market that was being put in place in the first civilizations.
During this time, new civilizations started to emerge all across the globe.
They were emerged from Mesopotamia and the Nile River Valley. They created new social structures, and these new states were based around rivers. These civilizations were put into, the rulers of these civilizations were put into power through religious legitimacy, and civilizations such as Mesopotamia had experienced warfare within their own states, and trade with pastoralists had aided in this warfare with new weapons that they had developed in trade.
There were also complex cities in the Indus River Valley known as Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, which had complex sewage systems and urban planning. In Mesoamerica, the Olmec civilization emerged and were known as the Mother Civilization of the Americas. The Chavan was another civilization that rose in Andean South America and was the center of a religious movement. Finally, the Shang arose in the Yellow River Valley, and with all of these new civilizations, there was new culture and new ways of government. And today we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite, the multiple choice exam. So as you all know, the multiple choice exam is 55 questions in 55 minutes, and each question comes with a document. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do is determine whether or not the document is absolutely necessary to answer the question. A lot of times, documents are just put there to distract you, so if you can answer the question without looking at the document, that's what you're going to want to do because it will save you some time. The next thing that you're going to want to do is eliminate wrong answer choices. Now, wrong answers come in 3 forms. The first one is an answer that states something that is incorrect or false. If you believe that something is false, go with your gut and eliminate that answer choice. The next answer choice that's wrong that you can eliminate is answers that are out of the period. These types of answers say a correct statement, but they're not in the correct time period, so you can go ahead and eliminate them. And the next one that you can eliminate is answers that are totally irrelevant. Even if it says a correct statement and it's in the right time period, if it has nothing to do with the question, then you can eliminate it right off the bat.
Long essay questions, or LEQ for short, are part of the writing portion of the AP exam. The LEQ is scored out of a total of 6 points. Each point is based on a component you must use in your essay. The first point is context, or stating the time period your essay is in a broader historical sense. The thesis is the second point. A good thesis uses a historically defensible claim and answers all parts of the prompt correctly. The outline of the essay is also introduced here through 3 categories, which will become your body paragraphs. The third point is evidence. So basically, what historical facts and examples support your argument? This is the evidence that you need to support your thesis claims. The fourth point proves your essay supports the argument in the thesis and that the evidence addresses the prompt. You could have good evidence, but does it answer the prompt? Does it relate to your thesis? So that's what the fourth point is for. The fifth point is using a historical reasoning skill to structure your LEQ. This can be, for example, change versus continuity, causation, etc., any sort of historical reasoning skill. The last point is complex understanding. This is the most difficult to obtain because you must prove that you have a broader understanding of the developments based in the prompt. You must also use a 1-to-2 ratio in your paragraph topics to earn this point. The document-based question essay, or the DBQ-based questions, are a lot like the LEQ in that they both have the same points for context, thesis, and complex understanding. The DBQ, however, is based on a total of 7 points and provides up to 9 documents that can be used to answer the prompt, rather than the LEQ's left to interpretation evidence. 2 points in a DBQ are gained through proper use of these documents. The first you have by using the information of at least 3 documents to support the topic of the prompt. The other point must have at least 6 documents used to prove your argument made in your thesis. Neither of these points can be gained through direct quotation of the documents. So basically, always summarize and analyze, but never quote a document directly. Evidence beyond the documents is the 5th point. Here you must provide an additional piece of evidence that isn't found in the documents, but rather what you can recall from memory. The 6th point is gained through using the HIPP analysis in at least 3 of the documents in your LEQ. Use the HIP analysis to support your argument. So basically, through using HIP, it will help you analyze the documents better and also support your argument. Short answer questions, or SAQs, are part of the writing segment of the examiner based on a 3-point system for each question. An SAQ question will have different parts that you must address concisely. You only have 1 page per question, so you must answer each part of the question in a few sentences. In these sentences, you must analyze the question and give an answer through evidence. Evidence should be detailed examples that directly prove your answer and make a clear point. It shouldn't be a vague statement or be left for interpretation. Just make your points clear and your evidence specific, and you will gain these points as long as your answer is correct.